kind of scary. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglash for the WDMA. That's Wisconsin DMA, Direct Marketing Association. We'll talk about that a little today. We're going to have some great stuff from my friend Lois. And we'll get to that. But first, let's see the new Cheetos commercial and System 1's analysis of it. And so this fella, just to set it up because it goes a little fast, this fella's eating Cheetos with his right hand. Now, I don't think usually you use all 5 fingers, especially in a little bag. You kind of reach in there with 3, maybe 4 max. Probably keep that little finger curled up. But, you know, they had an artist paint on cheese-colored paint to make it stand out. Okay, license. Also, no one makes a perfect, they always do that. It would be great to see a commercial where they would just actually try and open the bag without a perfect, you know, scissors. Probably they have to make these special. But anyway, it gets the brand right up front. So let's see what it has to say. It's kind of fun. I admit it's fun. Anyway, he's using his right hand to eat the Cheetos, and he should be using his right hand to do his job, but he's not. And that's the joke of it all. Here we go.
99% of people eat Cheetos with their dominant hand.
Mr.
99% of people eat Cheetos with their dominant hand.
Mr. Guy,
Even sketch artists
we'll catch him.
and sports fans
Oh, and he's done it!
and bakers and football players and even plastic surgeons.
This is the worst.
How's it look?
Using your other
How
hand,
does it look?
it's a Cheetos thing.
Okay.
99
So that's the story. It's a little bit of a joke. But anyway, what's always fun, I always think, is going over to System 1 and to see what they have to say about the Cheetos humor, right? Okay, so for some reason this is in the way and I don't know what to do about it, but we'll just leave it alone because I can't seem to fix it. It's supposed to compress, but I guess it's as small as it goes. Weird humor, a winner for Cheetos, okay, from Tom Ewing, editor-in-chief over at System 1. And so here's the video, and 99% of Cheetos eaters use their dominant hand. So what's the other hand doing? The Cheetos take a priority, leading to a series of unfortunate and hilarious outcomes. I would give them a smile, not probably, a hilarious. The plastic surgeon is definitely the worst. Okay, but there's also, you know, what they're doing. It's really interesting. What they're doing is they're elevating what most people consider a detriment to Cheetos, which is, you know, as opposed to, say, the M&M's positioning, which is melts in your mouth, not in your hand, right? Because they don't melt in your hand, but Cheetos get all over your hand. And so rather than sidestep that issue, they're actually they're leaning into it. And I think that is fun and that is interesting. And I'm trying to work on some brand positioning for a client, and there's 1 or 2 things that people don't like about the brand, but the truth is that it's worth what that price that they pay. And I may think about some ads where we lean into it instead of running away from it, because it is a fact. You can't get around it. They can't get around it. And so I think we can do it. This is it's a breakthrough in my head that, you know, think about what people don't like about your product and then explain why it's worth it. That will differentiate you from your competition, right? The lurid orange dust. Who comes up with these words? Anyway, so the ad scores 3.5 stars on your test your ad platform, which is a good score, but it's right on the button. The 3.7 is average for salty snacks. Okay, the spike rating gets an exceptional score of 98%, I think. No, I don't know. That one's the hardest one because half of them, anyway. But fluency gets a 98%, and the average is only 82%. So they're quite a bit above average almost 100% brand fluency, which I think is about, whether or not it reinforces something of the brand and not just the category itself. And so that's really, really good. They were also above average in short-term spike because it's funny. Usually humor gets that, and it's about an emotional connection. And there was no detraction from it. Okay, this ad, and this is the point, this ad could only be for one brand because nobody else would take credit for salty cheese dust. Okay, going hard on one particular aspect of your product that's uniquely and distinctly yours, even if it's one that some people don't like. I'm gonna hit this one. We've been working for 2 months trying to figure out a brand positioning, and I think we may have something from this commercial. So I don't just talk about junk mail here. Humor gives you permission to go a little nearer the edge, which helps you stand out. Humor gives you permission. That's a pretty good phrase, okay? So anyway, here's their ratings. The spike rating is a bit higher than average. The star rating is a smidgen lower. I keep telling John Evans every time I do a video that 1.4 is the category average for salty snacks. So they're a bit above that. But again, 1.47 is like 50%. It's like the mode or something. Anyway, but really off the charts in fluency rating. Okay, here's the commercial as it plays. I thought they might get some disgust out of this nose being put on sideways, but no, nothing. Nobody objected to it probably because it is so much of an exaggeration in all directions, right? And fluency was great from the get-go over there. I think that's it for System 1. So that was a lot of fun. Thank you for that over there at System 1. I always wonder if you're able to loop back and, after you put this up, go look at the last quarter, winners and losers, and see what the correlation is. I know they do some of that work to build this thing, although I would like the scale. 0 to 100, that's a good one. 1 to 5, that's a good one. This one is completely nonsense. Need to rescale that one. Okay, 5 reasons catalogs work by Louis Brayfield. There's Lois. We go back a long, long, long way when Jack Schmid was like almost the only guy at the agency, and now Lois has really taken it over, and she's really, really been a leader in NMOA, which I appreciate. Over the last several years, we've seen catalogs come and go, and that's an interesting place to start. She certainly doesn't start with them being obsolete, but many retailers jump in and then spend millions of dollars and then abandon the model. Okay, and I got called in a while ago now, back in the teens of this millennia, and they were having trouble with their catalog. It was a retailer that was having trouble with their catalog, and they brought me in to look at their data and to see what I could do, and we really, really turned it around. But even as questionable as it was, the first thing I did was check out the attribution. And a lot of times the attribution, especially when you add mail, all the omni-channel marketers talk about how you can add mail to your mix. And it's a huge mistake to think of it that way. And the reason it's a huge mistake is because your attribution is already in place. Your weak, probably fraudulent attribution, where you're using Google Analytics or you're using some other algorithmic approach to try to allocate who's got the causal impact. The reason it's so flawed is because almost nothing in your omni-channel mix, let's say what you're doing before you started your catalog, almost nothing will actually visibly drive traffic in any way, drive a response in any way. partly because you're maybe not even asking for one. You're just doing brand imaging, sort of like the Cheetos. There's no call to action there. There's no QR to click or something else, coupon to clip. QR to click or coupon to clip. I have to work on that one. There's just imaging. And will that drive sales? Who knows? Maybe it will. Maybe it'll go up. Maybe sales will go up. And notoriously over time, the Where's the Beef, the Plop Plop Fizz Fizz on Alka-Seltzer, those did not drive sales, even though they were really, really, really prominent ads that everybody remembered, if you're old enough to remember. So your fraudulent attribution will divvy up the reactions best it can, but it really doesn't. There's no hard action. There's no response, right? And so what do? Instead, we take the tracking algorithm. Where did you come from when you came to our site? Or you've been to our site 3 times. Now we mailed you a catalog, but you were already on our site. So we're not going to give this catalog credit. We're going to give the credit to the previous media that got you there, right? First touch. Or you went back there to order. So we're going to give the order to the previous trackable cookie. First party cookies aren't going away. Okay, so it makes Lois want to scream. Why does this happen? Well, one is a flawed merchandise concept that's not unique. Okay. And Lois is really, she's really, really good with creative. So that's what creatives think, and it's not wrong. One of the first things I did when they actually started asking me what to do to fix their catalog, this retailer, was I said, 3/4, we actually did an analysis of the sales per, not really, I don't believe in square inch, because I used to see the creatives trying to figure out how many square inches an odd-shaped product image was, a block out or something. But part of the, so I always just told them, just estimate percent of page, okay? And then the great part is, how many pages, and you know what the overall sales is, so you can just multiply the percent of page. You don't have to think about the curve. You just compare the percent of sales to the percent of space, and time is already taken out of the equation. But anyway, what we did was we showed them that 75% of their catalog had 0 profit and almost 0 revenue. I said, why don't you feature the products, tell the story of the products that you actually make, which they went to, and the results just dramatically expanded. And because they did have a unique product, but they were plunking in products and they were using manufacturer clip art, pickup shots of the items that were identical to Wayfair, and their prices were 25% higher on most things. And so here you've got an absolute easy comparison across the internet, and you're priced higher. So why would I buy that? You're undermining your own unique proposition. So I'm not disagreeing with Lois, not at all. But the question is, what do you have that's unique? So that's right. Bad math. Oh, and it was based on that 40-year-old Harvard study that said it's easier to sell something new to a existing client or a customer than it is to get a new customer. Bad math is a lot of times, first of all, they might mail too few and not often enough to even have statistical reliability. This retailer was on the edge of that. But also, a longer run, I always tell people you should be printing at least 150,000 of something. And we can still do minimal personalization. You don't have to be on a turn of the drum press. There's a lot of tricks to producing a catalog efficiently and inexpensively. And a lot of times, your general agency doesn't know any of them, has never printed anything. So get in touch with somebody who's printed a few million catalogs, and you'll have a leg up on this, okay? They might be mailing to bad names at the wrong time. We often did customer segmentation for big catalogs, $500 million catalogs. That's pretty big. It's not, it's not super big. When they get bigger than that, then they hire their own PhD statisticians who don't beat me, but they tell a good story. They don't even worry about the story mostly. Okay, so lack of understanding how to create a landscape of words and imagery. Again, Lois is back to the creative side, but there's something to that. Bad copy or taking out all the copy. A lot of the contemporary catalogs I've seen built by digital retailers look like a website where there's an item in a box, and then there's an item in a box, and another item in a box. It's super ugly. There's no visual hierarchy, and if you don't know what that means, then again, give me a call. I might ask you to join the WDMA for an actual working session, but it's cheaper than my regular hourly rate. So anyway, absolutely right. If you're thinking about mailing a catalog or killing your catalog, for sure, give me a call. I tried to talk Blockbuster back in the day before they went public and did stupid things and ignored Netflix. All before that, they had 27 million households, and they said a catalog has to work. And I showed them the numbers aren't going to work. They couldn't possibly work. There's things I would do now that maybe I could have gotten it to work at some level, because obviously some of those 27,000 were mail order buyers at the time, and we could have probably at least started with some sensible ones. But after they lost $5 million, they took me to lunch and said, "You're an odd guy," telling us to avoid the whole project. Anyway, catalogs have the space and freedom to tell a story. And again, this is sort of the creative person looking at catalogs. I love this part. Catalogs disrupt, delight, and drive response. But the problem is the math. All ages love receiving and browsing catalogs, and this is from their infographic, right? Here's email, here's web, 0.1, 0.2%. Direct mail is 3.7, and catalog is 4.3%, probably, of actually buying. Catalogs have a stronger lifetime value, a higher return on investment, higher average order. So what happened was the cataloger said, this catalog, the VP of marketing said, this catalog is not doing anything that we can tell. And furthermore, our marketing research says that we should be focusing on brand recognition, because once people know who we are and what we sell, we compete really well with our competitors that are bigger names. So why should we take money and remind our customers to buy something that they probably only buy a couple of times in their lifetime? Why should we mail them instead of building our brand on TV or driving traffic to our website? I said, that's one of the best questions I've ever been asked. Would you like to know the answer? And it's like, you can find the answer? Sure. What we'll do is we'll mail most of the list we were going to mail, but we'll keep out about 10%. We won't mail them, and we'll compare how they do in the next few months versus how the people that we mailed did, independent of all the other omni-channel stuff about the website or the tracking cookies or any of that stuff. We'll just look at how much did they buy later. And it turned out there was a 300% EBITDA return on investment. But when we looked closer and we were actually examining the matchback, because seeing direct mail, you know who you mailed, and you can also then compare with who bought. Voila. And so when we looked at who matched, it turned out that there were a lot of next door neighbors or very, very near neighbors. And when we included that in the match, it was a 900%. Bottom line, profit per piece compared to cost per piece. EBITDA comparison. 900% return on investment. And that got the leverage to go and explore other direct mail options. And they're still doing catalogs to this day. And that is crucial. The ability of mail to illustrate incremental profit. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of different ways of testing. We've talked a long time. Catalogs drive action. Catalogs are scalable, and you have more touch sensors in your brain, 10 times more than you have sight. So it's disruptive. Have a great day. Like and share, comment, and if you need help or questions with your catalog, give me a call.